Check. 1, 2.
All right, welcome to the improv show that doesn't have a title yet. I'm Isaac Mason,
I'm Tyler Smith.
and we are sitting here thinking about what we could talk about that other people could relate to, as well as what we relate to recently. What do you think we're doing here, Tyler? What's the goal?
Having some cosmic discussion, just talking some basic principles and actually sacred geometry, Metatron's cube.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that was what we were just talking about. I looked up my natal chart for the first time and had Tyler explain it to me a little bit. And some people, and they say astrology, it's astrology, right?
Yes.
Yeah, some people may say it, but that's not the people we're talking to or talking for. I am not well versed in it, but I guess what all have you been studying that has led you to the interest of that, Tyler?
Astrology, I used to not really believe in the validity of astrology. I kind of saw it as like a superstition, but when I started studying Freemasonry and other subjects related to the occult, astrology came up, and particularly astrotheology, and we see in books like the Bible and such that there's astrology symbolism everywhere. Like the fish symbol is actually Pisces, the Jesus fish,
okay,
that people have on their cars, and we are exiting the Piscean age, the age of Pisces. That's kind of why you see like the crumble of a lot of things right now. People are like, what the heck's going on? Like, it's a crazy world
everywhere.
You
Yeah,
know, the COVID and all that stuff. Well, it's the ending of this age of Pisces and the coming into the age of Aquarius, which people have been talking about for some time. And Aleister Crowley equates this also to the Aeon of Horus. But to get back to astrology, that's kind of how I first started getting into it, and studying more just the archetypes of each zodiac sign, rather than trying to read a whole chart. Just take a sign like Leo and see what all the different aspects of Leo are, and understand how that archetype fits in with the other signs, and how those influences manifest in our lives in different ways.
and that's kind of what I'm most interested to, is like when you can learn about these things and then actually tie them to what you see around you and the world around you. And are you with me in the belief that this knowledge is ancient and has been forgotten for the most part of the recorded history?
Yeah, it's more a remembering, because if we look at ancient civilizations, they say we hear about Atlantis, and we think of Atlantis sometimes as just a city that's like underneath the ocean or whatever. It wasn't just one city, it was an empire that spanned the whole globe. And before Atlantis, there was another civilization called Lemuria. And this was pretty similar. I think it was an empire that spanned across the globe. And if you watch YouTube channels like Spirit Science, they talk about how we were in a higher dimensional. Yeah, we were in a higher dimension when those cultures existed. So yeah, this is all. People have been using the power of astrology forever. Like Target, for instance, their logo is the sun, the astrological symbol for the sun.
Okay.
Ring with the dot in the center.
Right. And that's the most fascinating thing to me, I think, about symbology. I have a personal obsession with it, but the most fascinating thing about it, in my opinion, I think, is it's the oldest artwork that isn't. It's arguably artwork because at the time it wasn't artwork because it was communication. It stands for almost what memes stand for today, which is the conveyance of more than just a picture. It's actually the conveyance of information. Yeah, so symbology, and that's why you see so many conspiracy theories videos about so many different things, almost because with something with the subject matter like that you can water down into almost anything. All these symbols are around us all the time, and even like if you're a graphic designer, you're strictly familiar with not only graphical design from a color aspect, but even if it's just a symbol. When people see it, they have a reaction, and I think that's a lost influence.
These symbols exist in our collective conscious or our collective unconscious, so we're able to, our ancestral DNA, which is in us. This is an interesting topic. I started watching a guy named Sad Guru. He's talked about lately is memory isn't just in the mind, it's in the body too.
Mm-hmm.
So all these impressions and stuff, we carry these with us from generation to generation.
And what I'm trying to think of, not the politically correct term, but basically, it's associated with slavery a lot. Inherited, not trauma, but basically
I know what you're trying to say.
the impact from the part of the world that you're from is a part of you, and that doesn't matter what part of the world you're from, because there's almost some sacred energy tied to that area, that space, those people, and those things.
It's like a cultural download of some kind.
Yes, absolutely. It's called it's equally there are no biological genes that tie you to your location and where your upbringing is, but you have no choice over that, and as you are brought up into the world, you are at the behest of that, either information or suppression thereof, because that for so long information was so valuable that if you knew it or spoke of it, like so many mathematicians across time, were threatened with death or punishment because they had information. Were trying to push boundaries in different ways.
The mystery schools of Pythagoras and such. You couldn't say the sacred name of God, or they would get you.
And that's what's wild, and things like that, and just like Metatron's cube. It's like, how could Metatron's cube at one time be like sacred information? Like if you drew it, you got in trouble or something. It's very silly and wild to think about. Like nobody gets in trouble for drawing a target sign,
Yeah.
So weird things like that. But yeah, that's definitely.
When the church was powerful, they had to encode a lot of stuff and symbolism, and the people who understood the esoteric layer of it, they'd be able to like decode it.
Okay.
And then outside, I guess what would be termed the exoteric influences. That's what kind of ends up forming like the main part of the religions, like without the deeper mystical understandings of it. So if you take like a lot of religions at like face value or whatever,
okay,
people who aren't seeing the connection that like Christianity is like solar based. The sun is risen again. Jesus represents the sun.
Right.
These are somewhat deeper understandings,
and that the amazing thing to me is that's not new information, but it's seemingly it's a paradox on how that information isn't very well understood by the people who seem to practice it, and not that you're trying to not that anyone would be trying to sway people out of their own religion, but also I think there's fundamental understanding in where your religion came from, because I don't know, I feel like a whole
every religion has a spark of the divine within it,
and that's the good nature of it, and that's that's why I believe in miracles, and the what you don't understand in the universe, that's kind of God to me, and the church used that to their advantage. And not because storytelling is the oldest form of entertainment. So there's some really good stories in every religion, and honestly, when you line them up, they're pretty similar too. Yep. And I'm more interested in.
And they convey a lot of universal truth.
Yeah, but it blows my mind that people caught up within the trappings of these institutions that are religion have blinders on to just the idea and possibility of the influence. And that's not even to say that their religion that they practice didn't influence another one, because everybody likes to lay claim to things, but nobody wants to admit that they stole an idea. And that's kind of where Christianity and a lot of newer religions feel like.
Yeah, they all really go back to like the ancient Hermetic principles and such, because that's what Jesus practiced. He understood these fundamental natural laws, and he could work with them.
That's one thing that's so interesting to me, is the practice of the Jewish faith is so strictly Old Testament. In a lot of ways, they regard I think he who not may be named, but I think they refer to him as kind of thing. It's like it's a very irreverent religion that puts a lot of emphasis on where their religion was formed and when it was, almost in the same way that Islam is. Or what's the religion of Islam? I'm trying to think. Is that what it's called? Muslims are Islamic. Islamic, yes.
Islamic, yeah.
So, yeah, basically, just same way how that is. Sharia law is an ancient idea. Nobody said it was a good one, and no one's really refined it, but almost that their religions are stuck in the past, and that's also what makes them what they are, because Just like if the American government...
All that's control.
Yeah, if the government changed, things would get better. And a lot of the people in power of those institutions don't want things to change or get better for those people.
Change is the only constant, though.
Yeah, that's true, too. That's true. But yeah, I'm really glad that you had this idea. You messaged me, and you've been on... How long have you had your YouTube channel going?
Since March of this year.
Okay. Have you been enjoying doing that?
I love it. It's nice when I find the time to just just clear the space, and I usually do some meditation beforehand, and then just get relaxed and in the zone. And
that's exactly what it's about, man.
Mm-hmm.
I have a personal affinity for podcasts that are just one person, like Chris D'Elia, Ari Shaffir, a couple different comedians I listen to. Bill Burr, he does his by himself. But there's something that is special to a one-person, just a one-person monologue. Whether you're trying to teach something or not, there's kind of an energy. Even if you're just delivering it to a camera, it's like a sermon.
It's very channeled.
Yeah, if you give a sermon in the woods to no one, did you still give a sermon? That's kind of how it feels when you're doing that. But after you do it, you're like, got that information. Like it's the same way it's healthy to externalize your vocal thoughts.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, it can be dangerous. Keeping that bottled in. And that's my brief experience and my attempt at
I think it's a great
YouTube
basic
videos.
practice today. I kind of initiated that again with on top of my meditation practices, just prayer, saying I'm grateful for these things.
Mindfulness.
Guide me and protect me, and
absolutely.
Thank you for allowing me to experience this experience.
And that's the same way I pray too. I don't pray personally to any name or anything. I pray to the universe.
The divine source.
Exactly. Yeah, and to me, it is an eternal divine source, and all you can do is the same way people say you can manifest your own destiny or reality. I don't think that some special force is protecting over me, but I feel better when I channel it and wish for it, because what I'm really asking for is the awareness to survive whatever I'm going to go through. And that's what people pray at the hardest times of their life, because it's a cry for help, but there's never any there's never any reward to prayer. It's only a temporary internal thing that is a channeling of consciousness that makes you feel better. And I don't believe anyone who says they don't believe in prayer, because that means... And it's a hard thing to understand, though, or explain, because
it's almost like I don't believe you can utilize that, for your benefit.
Exactly. Yeah. People think it's so radical that you could just say either a chant or a mantra or a prayer, or I forget everybody knows somebody who grew up in a household where they had to say a prayer before dinner, and I wish I could remember the one that we said in my house. But I can't right now. But when I was 12, I could recite it at the back of my hand. It's just a thing you say before you do something. But it's part of the ritual, man. And rituals are kind of everything.
Yep.
But yeah, we could definitely... I tend to get off on a lot of tangents. But I know we have a lot of common interests that we can really explore. And really, if not for anyone, just for ourselves. And to get out the understanding of it and see what else we don't know yet, kind of thing. Because that's I really, as I've gotten older, as cliche as it is, I love this saying, you learn something new every day. And if you don't, in my opinion, it was a bad day.
There's always more to learn. And I'm finding that just when you think you've broken through to the last level, it's no, there's so much more.
It's just the beginning. It's just the tip of the iceberg.
And as above, so below. People always think they're always that last thing or whatever's next. It's no, this is it. This is where we are right now. And the higher influences and the lower influences are working together. I have a slightly different theory on prayer and stuff.
Okay.
You were saying using it more as a consolation, an interior, consoling. But you can when you pray, you can also send an intention out to the universe, and then source picks up on that.
Okay.
And usually it's called the Law of Least Expectancy. If you let go of the expectation and just carry on with your life afterwards, it will synchronistically come back to you in some way.
That literally, and I'm glad
it's like a little equation.
Exactly. I'm glad you said that because when I was talking about it, it's one of those things where unless you think about it and have had that thought yourself, you don't know how to explain it. But I would absolutely 100% agree with what you said, and it's so funny that I actually had that happen to me with a situation yesterday. I had kind of given up hope. I'd been hoping for it all week, and then I gave up hope yesterday, and I was like, if it might happen tomorrow, but it's probably not gonna. Don't you know it happened this morning, dude? And I didn't even like pray or anything, but
it's always like right when we're about to give up too, and then bam.
Yes, and then that's when people say hold out hope, and hope and faith are two different things. I don't know how I would define them. I'd have to put a lot of thought into it.
It's really hard to define them sometimes.
Hope and faith and destiny and fate are two things that just like you could talk for hours.
There's a passage that says somewhere that faith ends in sight, and then hope ends in fruition. So if you already see it, or if you're able to see it, you're not having faith of seeing it, you're seeing it. So to have faith is to believe in something beyond what you could even perceive, and then hope kind of ends when it comes to fruition.
Okay.
So that's what it's saying there.
That makes perfect sense. And
Yeah.
and you said hope is the fruition?
Hope ends in fruition.
And then that's so true, yeah.
Once you've accomplished it, so to speak. But
you
like
can kind of bask
in it.
in
They say
it.
love lasts forever. Like, that's the immortal thing.
Okay.
So the other two can be temporary. Like faith, once you've seen it, once you've perceived it, you don't have to have the faith anymore. The hope.
People say
hope,
keep the faith.
Yeah, once hope has come to pass, like you've received that which you've already desired, like you don't have to hope anymore. And then love is like this, it's the most eternal force is love, and that lasts forever.
And that's, we could definitely go on
That's
a
where
deep
the three Christian virtues, faith, faith, hope, and charity. If you've ever heard of that.
Okay, I probably have.
Yeah, or if you see like the little signs, like sometimes people have them in their house, like little positive slogans. There's like
There's always one like that, yeah.
Yeah, and charity, like we think of charity like donating money or something like that, like usually at an institutional level. But really, the true meaning of charity is love.
And because that's and also love comes from some eternal source. Because I never understood unconditional love until I became an adult and realized the love my mother has for me. And thank God my parents are both still here. But and until I had my son, also that's kind of when it clicked. Was like you've heard of unconditional love, but then if you don't have it for something or someone, you don't understand it. But as soon as you do, you realize that it is very much so something that exists.
Yes.
But one thing I wanted to that popped into my mind: how would you? So it's a fine line to walk between hope and desire, because hope is where you can have hope related to things for your well-being, but you can also like hope something goes your way, and I think that kind of bleeds into what a lot of society is today, which is desire after desire after desire. Because like you said, you can hope for it to come and then it will, but in my opinion, if you get the wrong idea about it in your own mind and what that is serving you, that's what can lead into the never-ending, the next thing will make me happy.
Yep.
The next thing. I hope I get this thing because then I'll be happy. And that's where I think that it's really diluted in terms of how people understand the difference between the two.
Something really strange happened when I really got deeper into spirituality and like doing certain practices and stuff. I didn't need as much stimulation from the exterior world. I'm able to like just be more at peace without. I've also like, I guess at this point too, I've like had a lot of adventures, like being a musician and stuff. Like I've played for like a decade now, and I got kind of burnt out. And then so like the spiritual practices and like cleansing the energy and stuff, and then just being able to sit there and like pure bliss, with the energy going and whatever. It's like I can go anywhere in my mind. I can really speculatively do anything, and then it's more of you watch the reality like manifest around you to where it needs to go, and you're not always like reaching out like you got to go here and here and here. You're not being pulled. You're more centered, and it's that hunger that like you see around you. It's like everybody's like gotta have the next thing. Like, I work in a grocery store. I mean, I see people. It's just amazing the amount of like stuff we go through. Like as a society, it's really kind of crazy.
In my mind, recently,
Babylonian-ish.
it is, and so many things are manufactured for one-time use. Like, dude, trash
So much
bags.
disposable, like
Dude,
plastic, like
I
packaging drives me
can't
nuts.
overthink. I keep overthinking it, dude. Like, there are so many things that are
Freaking
one
toys,
use.
man, too. When you comes to speech.
It's so terrible, dude. But
yeah, it's just these.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, man. I'm glad we got together, and we're testing out the sound equipment right now. Video obviously is just a nice desktop setting background right now, but yeah, we're not going for overly professional or a beautiful setup. We're just
casual.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. It's casual conversation.
Friends hanging out.
Exactly, yeah, and that's what's crazy, dude. I'm glad you brought that up. I've known you arguably longer than most people I can remember because I moved to London.
Was it first grade?
First grade, and I was in. Were you in Mrs. Huff's class, or Mrs.
Bird.
I think Bird was second grade because I forget who was first grade
Huff.
though.
Who was the other?
It wasn't Spinning, was it? No.
No. Mm-mm.
But anyways, yeah, I had Mrs. Huff in first grade, and then Mrs. Bird. Was Mrs. Bird second grade?
I did have Huff. I think it was.
I think so. Yeah. And
shorter black hair.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we went to Deer Creek together, elementary school. So literally, we went through all 12 years of high school together and grew up together. But like we were never enemies, but we were never overly good friends. And like, if you ever think about that, like often as I get older, I'm glad that I didn't put any negative energy out in the world. Like I played sports and I was part of a few different groups and stuff, but I never made enemies because it makes me feel good when I see people that I did go to school with and didn't really talk to them if they recognized me. Because everybody knows that awkward feeling, like when you see somebody either that didn't like you, or it's got to also feel a certain type of way. People who used to bully others, that's always a weird thing.
Right.
But we've known each other longer than I've known most people that I even stay in contact with, and ironically, I feel like we've both channeled a certain amount of knowledge in our, and for me at least in the past 5 years, my life has changed drastically.
So it's brought us back together. So
right, yeah, and just like-minded thinking and
exploring. And brings us back together.
It's absolutely real.
Yep.
So yeah, I think we're definitely onto something here. What do you think? What do you think you want to talk about next time? Anything in mind?
Come over?
Yeah, next time we have we do our
there's
episode.
Unlimited potential
for
subjects, so it's hundreds really.
Is
there anything particular you would want to?
I'm just trying to think. Like, I think God is a woman. I want to talk about like the source. If the source is gendered, that facet of understanding the world around you. Just like feminine? The divine feminine along with like Metatron's cube and stuff. I'd love to talk about that and how you can see that in the world.
That. We need to get back to that really heart-centered, and I think as men in this culture, in this society, it's really important for us to tap into our divine feminine energy. And this isn't like what we would societally, traditionally think of as masculine or feminine. It's the qualities, it's the right side, or the right brain energy, like music and creativity and art, and
it's there by default.
And heart-centered love too, rather than being super intellectual and like stuck in the head and stuff.
And that's why, like, I'm glad, dude, and I'm the first to admit it, and if you hang out with me long enough, you'll see me cry, dude. Like, I will unashamedly cry to music a lot. It's so healthy, dude.
It really
and, like,
is.
I'm so thankful that I'm in that position to not have that, whatever feeling it is towards it, where you can't, there was a generation of men who just didn't even do that, and now, even today, people just aren't comfortable enough to cry. I think it's a weakness.
No.
But like, dude, I love nothing. Like, I will.
It's such a great release.
I guarantee, if I put the right song on while I'm driving, or even if I'm at home, I'm crying to some Coheed for sure.
Dang.
But it just feels good, dude. But I'm definitely into that. Talking about some of that, and then I would definitely like to hear a little bit more about your recent Dante.
I just got.
How do you say his last name?
Alighieri.
Alighieri.
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't really like it in high school when we were supposed to read it at
It's not an epic for everyone. And
they only told us about Inferno. It has 3 parts.
Right.
Inferno, Purgatory, and then Paradise.
And speaking of, there's a gnarly PS3 game called Dante's Inferno, and if you haven't played it yet...
I played the Xbox.
Okay, yeah, I was
I
going to
think
say.
it's the same game.
It's good. It was like after God of War, so it's still like a hack and slash 'em.
There's
it's
an
like
anime movie of that for free on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, I think so. I feel like there was a series on Netflix or something. Maybe it's the same one that's on YouTube. But
it might be on Netflix.
God, what an epic for the ages, man. Right. Yeah, I definitely want to hear you talk about that.
I got my fiance for my birthday got me a fancy red hardback.
I saw that, dude.
Cover.
That looked so good.
It's so nice. Like the illustrations in there are dope.
Dude, yeah, like one thing I don't have, and like I used to read a lot when I was a kid, but I don't read as much as I should now. That's just the passive life that I've lived. Because it's honestly always, after I reach a certain age, it was hard for me to sit down. And I'm one of those people who I might have to read the same paragraph like 5 times. And I really hate that because reading takes a certain amount of focus and effort and energy, along with comprehension. Not only do you have to be able to read well, you have to have the mental space of clarity to
kind of organize
basically blueprint all that out in your mind while you read it. That's why I love audiobooks. I listen to audiobooks, and auditory storytelling is my jam. But all that aside, what I was saying is books, they're so lame now, but they used to be so dope. Like an expensive book, dude, is a relic. You know, if it's bound in some kind of animal hide or something. I would really love to. I would love to get them, just go to a museum or something and
I think that Harry Potter book was
yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. But I've never. What's the oldest book you've ever touched?
The oldest book?
Yeah, just a random.
Probably some of our books that we have at our Masonic Lodge. They're really
That's so cool to me. I was just the NPR was talking about the. Some basically family hand down. People have saved these letters from 1800s or whatever and all their journeys. Nothing's more interesting than recorded history. It's tangible.
Yeah,
that's cool stuff. R.I.P. the Library of Alexandria.
That was so sad that library got.
You would just wonder. Yeah, like we said in the beginning.
So much accumulated knowledge.
Came full circle. Yeah, dude. All of the knowledge that we don't have anymore, and I think it was Graham Hancock who.
Graham Hancock.
Yeah,
awesome.
He said we're a race with amnesia, or a society with amnesia, and I find that to be too true. But hell yeah, man. Well, that was I think that was a pretty good episode.
It was, yeah. Yep.
All right, that was a good 27 minutes. All right, we will catch you next time. Thanks for watching.
Next time. Peace.